And speaking of conspiracies, with this IRS thing that we were on, what, a year and a half ago is when you first
I don't know.
brought it up?
February 2012 was when we wrote the initial Blaze story.
2012.
Okay.
But
we talked about it before that.
Well,
because the Blaze did,
And we talked about in commercials, we talked about the fact that the IRS had audited you because of your viewpoints. And then
this is 2010, I think.
This was 2010 because it was the year they audited me after I first started working here in 2009. And here's the proof of that.
Wow, that's compelling proof.
Zero.
See?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Last year I was audited. I owed exactly zero to the IRS. I overpay my taxes and have for years because when in doubt, give it to them. I don't want to hear from IRS agents, but I heard from them. I wonder if I'll hear from them again. Wouldn't that be a weird coincidence? By the way, Pat, you were audited, weren't you? Isn't that a weird thing?
Yeah, for the first time ever.
Weird.
I think that's the 2000. I think that one's from 2011. And then there was another couple from 2010 that we found of you kind of saying that
you haven't been. It's weird. You haven't been audited.
As I've said many times, I'm a huge fan of the IRS.
How do you spell your last name, Mr. Small Government Tea Party member?
TW.
I don't think that'd be really what?
With Bergier?
Here is W. Just give me your social security number. Larry Connors. He's a veteran local news anchor at KMOV in St. Louis. That's Channel 4. He said that the Internal Revenue Service has been targeting him since an April 2012 interview he conducted with the president. He said, I dismiss this as a coincidence until the reports about the IRS targeting conservative groups. Shortly after I did my April 2012 interview with the president, my wife and friends and some viewers suggested I might need to watch out for the IRS. I don't accept conspiracy theories. But I do know that almost immediately after the interview, the IRS started hammering me, he wrote late Monday. Connors didn't express specifically how the IRS was hammering him. He didn't respond to a request for clarification. According to his account, his questions touched on the economy and spending and were not exceptional in nature, but following allegations, the IRS focused on various groups and individuals questioning or criticizing government spending, taxes, debt, or how the government is run. He believes there now is a possible connection. Can I prove it? At this time, no. But it is a fact that since April 2012 interview, the IRS has been pressuring me.
I wonder in what way.
So you got email audited, Glenn. We talked about this reporter. Pat, you got audited. Scott Baker, who is the what is this position again? Editor-in-chief of the Blaze. He got audited. It's very odd, and you got audited multiple times, if I remember correctly. The first time, immediately after talking about Tim Geithner and his tax problems. And you both times came out completely clean, but those are the first times you had ever been audited, if I remember the story correctly.
I only have been audited once.
Only once, okay.
Yeah, that I know. Is there another audit going on?
No, I did. I thought it was twice. I was saying as I remember.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was only audited once, and it was after I was hammering quite hard. And if I'm not mistaken, my accounting firm is down in Philadelphia, and when they called me to say, you're being audited, this is how they said it. They said, Mr. Beck? And I said, yes. They said, well, you are a firm first. And I said, what do you mean? They said, you're being audited for this year's taxes. I've never seen that happen before. You're not being audited for last year's taxes. They're so far ahead, and it was in early spring. They're so far ahead on you that they're going after this year's taxes. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. And they said, oh, you are a year ahead of anybody else we would ever even possibly think of seeing.
And it's so interesting because they can use this as a weapon so easily. I got a letter in the mail about a month ago that said that I owed $650 or something like that from a year or two ago taxes. And look, my initial reaction to that letter was write a check and send it to him. Like, that's what I thought.
Mine too.
And that's what I was going to do. And then I was like, I should at least send it to my accountant and see what she thinks about it. And she looked at it. She's like, no, you don't owe this money. You've paid this already. I would have just paid it. How many times are they doing that around the
Because
country?
you don't want that hassle.
Well, how many times? I mean, see, this is why people should sue. They really should sue. Look, we are the civil rights leaders of the future. The civil rights organizations, so-called civil rights organizations, have so horribly discredited themselves because they found power in it. And they stopped looking for equal justice and they started demanding social justice. There's a huge difference. And once a civil rights organization starts to look for social justice as opposed to equal justice, they go off the rails. And so there is nobody really in the mainstream America that has any power that is looking for equal justice that is a civil rights organization. But I contend the NRA is a civil rights organization. I contend that what the Tea Party and the 9/12 Project are asking for are equal rights. They are asking not for social justice. In fact, they are demanding no social justice. They are demanding equal justice. We're a civil rights movement, and the civil rights organizations of the past have discredited themselves. So it's time to dismiss them as the frauds and the joke and the really sad, insulting joke that they have become, and begin to start to move like civil rights leaders. Because, like it or not, that's what you've become.